declare us live right now. Hello, everybody. Tuesday, 2:30, Awesemo.com golf show. Same crew, Ben Raza, Tim Frank, Fantasy Golf Man. We have to pick up the pieces after just the carnage of whatever. Charles Schwab was not kind to society. We got another invitational, so let's get it right off the bat. The 6 of 6 percentage should be inflated. That's what you need to remember with these invitationals, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna make the cut. Everyone's having 6 of 6. Man, last week was brutal. It was gut wrenching too. After like sweating Russell Knox and Snedeker making the cut early, and I'm feeling good, and then I see at the bottom of the leaderboard that Casey is listed as a WD, and then just bad things after that. So I honestly didn't pay attention to golf after that happened. I took the weekend off, and I think it was good. I didn't have to pay attention to any golf, which was nice.
Yeah, I mean, my week it was a fitting. I don't know what kind of curve you want to call it. I started the week with an Usti withdrawal that hurt, that chopped off one of the legs, and I finished it with the Paul Casey withdrawal with miscuts in between. The one silver lining was, and this is something that we talk about in Slack a lot. If you're new to golf and say you run 50 lineups, and you're just like, oh, I got 6 of 50, 6 of 6. That was amazing last week. Like, everyone was in the same boat. That was the one saving grace. I had teams that were bad, 4 of 6s that cashed. So that did mitigate some of the damage. But that's about all I could really say. It was not good. Every time I thought someone was making a move, they did not. And the cut was certainly not kind to us. But hey, that's what you get. I do like tournaments that get a little wild like that. We have a good field here. I like the Memorial. What do you think of this tournament in general? Just kind of indifferent, or are you a fan?
Yeah, no, this is a great event. One of the better, I think one of the better regular season events of the year. Hosted by Jack. This is a place where Tiger has had a ton of success back in the day when he was crushing everybody. So good field, good course. I'm looking forward to this week. I was looking forward to Colonial as well, but didn't turn out as well. So
second time's the charm. I mean, hey, like I said, it's golf. That happens. It was just what a wild situation. I do want to say real quick, shout out to Onion Blast from our chat, who won $100,000 in the $5. I could not believe that. He had said he was close, and I wasn't really paying attention to it, to be honest. I didn't think he had a chance after Piercy doubled, and sure enough, he held on. So that was pretty cool for him.
Very subdued victory lap, at least in Slack. I would still be talking about it like 24/7, and he was just like, "Oh, hey, I won $100K."
Yeah, like, who do you like for the Memorial? Just all business, just straight printing. But that was very cool. We'll see if we can keep that going. Hopefully, I just win the 100K, and if I don't, you can. One of us too. Let's see what we can do here. We got Muirfield Village. Another reason why I really like Memorial. I like this course. Fair test, good test. What do you make of it? Little breakdown for us.
Yeah, 7,400 yard par 72, bent grass greens. Some of the fastest on tour. I feel like that's really what Muirfield Village is known for, is super fast bent grass greens. Designed by Jack Nicklaus. Like you said, really good all around test. Length will help here, being a 7,400 yard par 72, but I think you do have to be somewhat accurate off the tee, not just spraying it everywhere. And if you look back at the winners here, it really doesn't scream like distance like you would think out of a 7,400 yard par 72. We had Bryson, Duffner, McGirt, Lingmerth, Decky, Kuchar, Tiger, Stricker, Rose. So, good all-around players and some shorter hitters. So I don't think there's really one way to go about it this week. I don't mind guys that are long off the tee, but I think I'd focus more on strokes gained off the tee rather than just pure driving distance, because I don't think you can spray it everywhere here. But yeah, I mean, moderate to tougher course. I think it tests kind of all aspects of the game. Definitely tests the putting with the fast greens. I think definitely tests around the green. So just kind of a good all-around test this week.
Absolutely. It's a course we've seen. Any type can win. It's always nice to drive it far, but it really is just a fair test of golf. Now, the course It's Tuesday. I'm not going to speculate. It certainly has rain, though. They got mauled in Ohio with a ton of rain, so maybe that makes it play a bit longer. But, that's the age-old debate. It plays longer, but there's no rollout. That makes it you're less punished in terms of your drives if you're spraying it. But we're not going to dig into that too much. We'll talk about that more on the Wednesday night show. And then just a transition. It's a strong field. I know we get that because it's, Jack's tournament. But Tiger's back, Rory's here. No DJ, but you got options up top for sure.
Yeah, really strong at the top. So yeah, unlike some of the other weeks we've seen, we're struggling. You definitely have a lot of options up top. I don't know. Tiger being the second most expensive. We're in a new era where we're just putting Tiger right up there with everybody now.
We really are. Yeah, so we'll dig right into it. We got Rory 11.5, Tiger 11.2. Then you got Rose, Ricky, Patrick Cantlay north of 10K, which I guess is well deserved at this point. And then we'll break down this 9K, but of the big five, if you want to call them that, do you have a preference? The answer's got to be Rory, right?
I don't want to steal your thunder too much and say Rory, but just the way, and we've talked about this week after week, the ball striking just on another level, 2.1 strokes with the ball striking. It's 50% better than second place, who's Corey Connors. I think we said that around the Masters time. Yeah, that's shocking in itself. But, he's played 10 times this year, nothing worse than T21. 9 of the 10 were top 10s. Just putting on a ball striking clinic week in and week out. Decent record here, bunch of top 10s. And, I just don't, to me, the only guys that can hold a candle to Rory would be DJ and Brooks, and they're not in this field. So I think the ball striking is just on such another planet, and the play has been so consistently good. I think it's clearly Rory at the top for me. I'm not saying I won't play these other guys, but I think it's pretty clearly his tournament to lose here.
He's just, it's hard to go, when we get ownership and there's other guys, like you said, there's a million ways to go. But if you're just looking at the stats, it's hard not to at least feel the best about Rory. He gains 5 strokes off the tee pretty much every week. That's not even hyperbole. He actually just gains about that. Then he gains a handful with the irons. And then his short game and his putting, they're not good, but they're not bad either. It's just average. And that's just a formula that can be repeated a lot. And if he putts well, it's very, very, very dangerous. So obviously, I think he's the best play and the safest play up there. The guy that piques my interest in terms of embracing a little risk would be Rose. He's not playing well again last week. Didn't get it going, but when you look at his season kind of on a macro level, it's been like that. He's got a win. He's got a really good at Wells Fargo. Then he's got a missed cut at the Masters, an ugly showing last week. So the upside is still there. It's just not nearly as consistent as someone like Rory.
Yeah, this kind of seems like the typical spot where Rose comes through at maybe lower ownership. It's a non-major. This seems like kind of the events, a stronger field non-major. I don't know if you want to think of Torrey Pines and Wells Fargo, places where he's played well. I could see him coming in at lower ownership, kind of going under the radar. But again, for me, you would have to look at ownership. That'd be the only reason I'd be going to Rose. But yeah, clearly second class compared to Rory for me this week.
Yeah, him and Ricky for me are guys, they're coming off, Ricky's coming off a miscut, Rose coming off somewhat of a dicey. I definitely am going to have exposure to them, but if you're telling me I don't want to lose it up top, Rory's the guy that, the results speak for themselves. He's pretty much printing a top 10 every single week. These other guys, that's not the case. What do you make? I know we kind of just talked about this, but Cantlay, he's playing really well. I think the course is a fine fit for him. I don't love the price, obviously. I get that it's going to rise considering he's third at Heritage, third at the PGA. What do you make of him just in terms of ranking him against guys like Rose, Ricky, that group?
I like him. I like him at 10-2 quite a bit. Vegas has him at 16-1, which is the same as Rose. It's actually shorter than Fowler. Like you said, third, ninth, and the ball striking has been great. He gained 10.8 strokes with the ball striking just at the PGA alone. And he's really great all-around game. He's top 50 in all 4 strokes gain categories. yeah, he just doesn't really have a weakness. I really like him. I think he's playing better than Rose or Fowler. You know, he doesn't have the long pedigree that those guys have, but you know, we kind of know his story, the injuries and things that derailed his career. But yeah, I don't mind him at all at 10-2. And I think he's a better play than Rose or Fowler, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing about him, that's true. We don't have the pedigree, in terms of it was obviously a ridiculous situation of things that kind of shaped his career. The other thing, he doesn't play nearly as often as everyone else. So like rarely do you get the Cantlay buildup where week after week he takes 2, 3, 4 weeks off a lot, and the form doesn't suffer. It's just strung out amongst a long period of time. So he's in play. I think I like the other guys a little better. Ownership will probably determine exact exposures. Working down, we've got Jordan Spieth at 99. I don't know about all that. We got Finau, Kuchar, JT. This is where it gets interesting. Day and Decky. Boy, oh boy. Obviously, the first thing I want to get to, Kuchar, similar to Rory in the way of it's hard to find a red flag. And then you've got JT, who's got crazy red flags. What are you doing in that situation? And then what do you just make of the 9K range in general?
Yeah, I mean, I hate Spieth. It's incredible that the putting has carried him to these two finishes, 8th and 3rd, and the ball striking literally has not been any better than it was all year.
It's mind-boggling.
It is mine. Yeah.
Mind-boggling. I've never seen anything like that on Thursday. It was just wild.
Yeah, so a hard pass on Spieth for me. I mean, like you said, Kuchar at 9,400. I mean, just his last 10 starts here, he has 9 top 15s, including a win. 8 second, 12th, 7th, second. That's his last 5 starts on tour. I mean, you can't think of any reason not to play Kuchar at 9,400. And I like JT. I mean, I don't think he would be teeing it up if he was still injured. I mean, there might be some lingering injury concerns, and he's definitely not a safe play, but I mean, he withdrew from the PGA. I don't think he'd be teeing it up here if he didn't feel like he was ready to play. And 9,300, obviously very cheap for the talent. He's also 16-1, same odds as Rose, who's 10-8. So you're getting a discount. Yeah, I like JT. I think people are going to go there, though. I don't think he'll be way under owned like he would 2 or 3 years ago. I think people are getting sharper and feel the same way I do. He wouldn't be showing up here. He wouldn't be playing if he wasn't at least close to 100%.
That's going to be a situation, ownership for him in particular this week, I think is really important because I have a lot of interest if he's low owned. If he starts to balloon, I don't know, because I'll say this. I'm sure he's obviously healthy enough to play. He wouldn't do that. But I also think, and I'm speculating, of course, he wanted to play before the U.S. Open's only 2 weeks away. So I doubt that he wanted to go in completely cold to a major. And he may be using this as a litmus test to see how he is. The game may be rusty. Having said that, it's JT. And if the game is fine or he just gets going, 9,300 is the best price on the board, I think.
Yeah, and it's so weird that he was it 12th at the Masters, right? After he injured himself. So yeah, that's kind of strange. But yeah, I mean, there's risk involved. Like, I don't want to hear anybody complaining if he goes out there and plays 9 holes and withdraws because you know the risk if you click JT. But yeah, just it's very cheap for the talent. And like I said, Vegas has him at 16-1. So they, obviously that's driven a little bit by the public, but that's a good value if you just want to match up Vegas odds with the DK price.
I think for me, it's more the injury speaks more to his floor, not his ceiling. There's no doubt that JT can go out and win it. It's just there's a lot more risk of him just completely not having it and going back to the drawing board with this wrist. So we'll see. He makes the obvious pivot off of what's going to be a popular Kuchar who's, if he plays bad, it's golf. You got to accept that, but there is no reason to think that he would at a course like this and form like this. I like Decky. I'm just enamored with him. He does just enough to keep me interested each week. I wrote about this in the article on the site. He's going to game with the irons. His irons have been great all year. It's just putting the rest together. Are you hanging on? I know you're a big Decky guy.
No, I've kind of soured on Decky. I mean,
What?
if we look at his last 3 events, the
No
ball striking,
respect.
just ball striking, 1.2, 4.1, which is good, and 1.3. So, I mean, that's not the level he was at. I'm going to keep going back prior to Augusta, where it just seemed, I felt like he was destined to win because the ball striking was on another planet. I mean, it's really slowed down. He's not, like you said, not playing horribly by any stretch. He has a win here, he has a 5th here, and a 13th. But I just think there's too many options for me. And I just think the ball striking has cooled down enough to where he's just not on that very high level that we saw him earlier in the season. And you just have him in here with guys like Xander, JT, Day. I think there's just so many options in this range. I don't think I'm going to Decky this week.
Wow, it's the end of an era. What can I say? I mean, the ball striking, you are absolutely right. It certainly has regressed a bit, but it's still solid enough. Putter comes around, he loves this course, so I'm hanging on to Decky. Day is the one who always trips me up. He's an Ohio guy, but he doesn't seem to love this course. He always gets in trouble with the spraying here. He just has middling results, and there's something to that. Obviously, he's a very good player. There's no doubt. I don't know, though. I always find myself tripped up when we talk about Day at this course.
Yeah, I mean, the course history, I'm not a huge course history guy, but it is pretty troubling. I mean, for him, it's bad. I mean, he hasn't missed a ton of cuts, but I mean, he only has one finish better than T27 here if we go back to 2008. So that's concerning. I mean, I don't like to follow course history, but I mean, when you've made that many starts here without success, I mean,
there's something to that,
there's
obviously.
something to that. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And that, I mean, this is where we get, I know he's not in the 9K, but we'll kick off the 8K range with him. Obviously, I have to. Bryson is a guy that I've tried to buy low on. Not working. He's just really not playing well. The off the tee was just absolutely horrible at Charles Schwab. He was great with the irons. It's just, it's really tough to gauge where his game is at. Obviously, defending champ. What do you make of him to kind of kick off this new range? Or you're just saying, you know what, if he beats me, so be it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that boat. He's just been struggling for so long now. It's really, I mean, can any of these guys, could they just turn it around, 1 week and come out and win? Sure. But it's hard to really click on him and you're hoping that something changes drastically from 1 week to the next. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, that's just generally not my strategy. Would much prefer Xander here. And Woodland. Even going Woodland. I would play Woodland definitely over Bryson. I'll go down to my guy Stenson at 8,500.
His ball striking hasn't regressed. It's just extreme.
I mean, well, yeah, we even have to get more granular than that. The approach game has been amazing, but everything else has been bad. Off the tee has not been good. Around the green has not been good. Putting has not been good. But, I mean, the approach game has just been – I mean, he's averaging 5.5 strokes gained approach in his last 5 shot length events. I mean, just crushing it on the approaches. But everything else has been pretty bad. But I have to keep going back because I think some of the other – at least the off the tee game, I think that can get straightened out a little bit. It was really bad at the PGA. I think he lost 3 or 4 strokes off the tee. I look for that to at least come back, at least around even somewhere there. But yeah, I just can't get past those approach numbers. And 8,500, I love Stenson again this week.
I'm with you. I got sucked. It's the ball. I say ball striking, and you're right. It's just pure irons right now. My thought was, this is a course he loves to hit that 3-wood. It doesn't demand length off the tee. He can be less aggressive, and clearly his goal off the tee should just be keep it in the fairway. Let your irons that are clearly working do the heavy lifting, because there's no doubt that that's what's keeping him even afloat. If he didn't have that, we'd be looking at a disaster run for him. So I'm with you there. I just do want to say real quick, and maybe it's because I'm a real sicko. What can I say? But if there was a week to blindly play Usti, it would be this week. Coming off the WD, nobody's going to play him. Nobody. You'd have to be insane to play him. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you're just crazy enough to do it, I think.
I probably will, and he'll probably withdraw again after lock, and then I will say, but at the U.S. Open now, no
But
one's going to play him. Um, Obviously, buyer beware with him, but I do think if he's legitimately like 2-3% owned, we've seen Usti do this time and time again. And although it feels like he withdraws like 60% of the time, he doesn't. It's a rare occurrence. But I get not want, if you don't want to take that risk, I totally understand. I'm not going to be doing it outside of, large field GPPs most likely. There's too many other guys.
he's only withdrew and back-to-back weeks 7 times in his career. So I mean, you're relatively
Well, is
relatively
that true?
safe there. No, I'm just making
I
that
was
up.
like, Jesus Christ. I would have said it's like twice. Yeah, he's only averaging 35% triple withdrawals. It is what it is with Usti. There are other players there. You threw some shade at the best golfer in the world, Rory McIlroy, this morning with this Rory Sabatini talk. Uh, he is playing well. It's hard to deny, man.
Yeah.
God, it's. You think he belongs in this price range? I mean, obviously the recent form would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves to be in this price range. Am I going to play him? No, but the run that this guy has been on is insane. I don't think it's a coincidence that he is a Slovakian citizen and then goes on this insane run of form. I think they're pumping him with
The
some sort of
Eastern Bloc at it
yeah.
again.
There's something shady going on there. It's not a coincidence. Yeah, 6th, 5th, 18th, 3rd, 10th. I mean, it's crazy. It's like him and Kokrak are the two guys I haven't played at all, and they're
Yeah.
just
And that's why
crushing.
the show is the way it is. We haven't played them. I tried to play Kokrak last week, and then he immediately withdrew when he got word, apparently, that I was interested in. He's another one, it's what you want to weigh. He's been playing great all year. He has absolutely atrocious course history here. Doesn't get it. I'm not playing him. I don't think this is a good fit, and the history speaks to that.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not playing Kokrak. I'd counter with he's just playing at a completely different level than he has been at any
Ever.
time in his
Yeah,
career, which almost makes the course history somewhat irrelevant, or
it's
even
a great point.
more irrelevant if you're not a course history guy. But yeah, I will say I'm not playing him. So just pencil him in for like a T8 this week.
It's that's a great point because I had that thought with Webb Simpson's putting in particular, and it's like, well, it turned out that it wasn't an anomaly. He just found something, and it was sustained, and now we look at him differently. The last point, because we don't need to waste time on this turkey, I'll say is that if Kokrak was younger, I would be more apt to say that. I have a hard time believing that he isn't who we've seen. It's not like we had a short body of work, Like I just can't get that through my head that suddenly he's a different golfer.
Oh yeah, I'm in the same boat where it's like we've seen like 10 years worth of
Yeah,
him
it's
being
not a small
terrible, and
sample size.
then all of a sudden it just clicked at the age of 40 or what. I
Yeah,
don't know how old he is. He's
it's to
probably
the
like
senior
35.
tour, and now he finally figured it out. I don't really get that. Uh, we got lefty Leishman to round out the AK range. I always have a little interest in Leash. He's been banged up. He's not playing great. That's a guy who he can win big tournaments. He can win in strong fields. No doubt there. No interest in Phil. You have
It
any?
is crazy that Phil is $200 cheaper than Rory Sabatini,
Yeah,
though.
what world are we living in?
Where are we? Yeah.
It's bizarre world. Yeah, I mean, these are guys. I don't think you're going to see a ton of ownership. It's probably a dead range as we work down. I don't see much, and then we bump into the sevens. We got Grio, our good friend Emiliano, Kiz, Glover. I'm not going to rattle all these names off. We got a lot of options in the high 7K range. I think you could go to a lot of different places. Is there a guy that stood out for you?
Yeah, there's quite a few guys in the
He's
mid to upper 7 range that I like. Starting right off with Grillo. I think he'll be popular this week, but the ball striking, 6.1 at Colonial, 5.7 at the PGA, 4.6 at RBC. That's 3 really good ball striking performances in a row. 19th, 23rd, and 33rd. So obviously the putter wasn't working. But yeah, I think for 7,900 to get that ball striking, I think that's definitely a buy for me. Horschel, chat brought him up last week. I said no. He played well. but the ball striking was really good last week. 7.7 with the ball striking. Only finished T19, but now we've got him T19, T23 in the last 2 weeks. And like we talked about last week, the guy's made almost every cut. I think it's like 22 out of 23. So, he's bringing consistency to the table, but now when I look at the ball striking, I see more of a reason to play him. So I like him at 7,700 as well. I think him and Grillo I really like at the top. And then there's a couple more guys in the lower 7 range we can get to after you give us some of your favorite plays here.
Some of these egregious. I think Keegan is in play. I'm not going to lie. Another guy, we know what we're going to get with him. He's a very good ball striker. He's a very bad putter, but he's just kind of doing his thing. Feels a little cashy. I don't think the upside is through the roof with a guy like that, but I feel pretty confident. He gives you 4 days, and the irons are just, it's been great all year, pretty consistently gaining a handful of strokes through the approach game. So I don't think we see anything different here. And then this is a guy, if there was one thing I did good last week, and this is grasping at straws because there wasn't much, but Ty Hatton, I bought early on him and he played very well. Does it a little atypically, a lot around the green, made some putts. But this is a guy that I think is a solid play until pricing really adjusts. He's not going to garner ownership. He doesn't stand out when you really are looking at stats per se, just because, again, he kind of patches around rounds together in some unique ways. But he's someone I'm going to continue to buy. I think it's an aggressive play with so many other names. Can I convince you? And you have any love for Ty Hatton, or are you just no guys?
The guy is such a head case. It just totally turns me off.
He is.
It's like you kind of put him in the Rom, like Peters category, but he's
right in my brand. I like all 3 of those crazy psychos.
But at least Rom is really good, and Peters has shown a lot of flashes of upside. Like, I don't know.
He's got to be the third craziest of that group, though, right?
He is, but it's like every putt he misses is because of a spike mark, and I just can't get over that. It's like literally he'll just start tapping something on the green every time he misses. Like he could, like if it wasn't for spike marks, Hatton would make every putt.
He would be Spieth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that. I like guys like that only in the sense that when they hold it together, I think that some of their craziness is built into the results, and it keeps the public somewhat masked because you see Ty Hatton have these insane blowups. Now that could happen here, and then I'll be in trouble. But when Ty Hatton plays great golf, the upside I think is higher than most people would.
Yeah, because donkeys like me take into account all this stupid stuff that we shouldn't be thinking about.
Thomas Peters, baby, he's getting it together over in Europe day by day.
The Belgian knockout, huh?
Thomas Detry is the new Belgian in a couple years. Oh yeah, not that this was not supposed to come up, but you made me think of it. Bernd Wiesberger is back. Got the W on the Euro Tour last week. Really happy to see that. One of my favorite golfers.
What like his odds going into that tournament? What was he one of the favorites, or was he?
It wasn't a super strong field, but he had come off. I mean, he's had a rough go of it after that wrist injury.
Oh yeah, he's been out of the spotlight for quite some time now.
But good to see Field Bernd. Do you have? We're gonna get into these 7K guys. I do want to just throw this name out because I never know what to do with him. Haotong Li sits there at 7,500. I don't really have a strong take. I was just wondering if you did, or is he just kind of just another name?
I kind of always like Haotong for tournaments. Just seems like a volatile option where just will pop up. A little Peters-esque where he'll just, pop up on some of these big leaderboards from time to time.
Yeah, majors.
Yeah, but definitely not a safe play. But yeah, like if I was, MMEing, we definitely want some shares of him just because we've seen his upside in big events. So, and 7,500, decent price. But again, I think this is a stacked range. Got a guy that I've just totally has been off my radar. And then once I started crunching numbers, Streelman has been, the ball striking has been just out of this world for him too. Just absolutely atrocious short game. But if we go back 4 events, he's averaging 6.6 strokes with the ball striking over 4 events, which is really great. 31st at Colonial, 45th at Wells Fargo, and then he had back-to-back T6s at Heritage and Valero. So I really like Streelman. You just have to pray for the short game, pray for the around the green game, pray for the putter. But the ball striking has been top notch. And he has, for Kevin Streelman, he has some decent results here, a 13th and 8th and a 7th since 2011. Obviously, he's not an elite golfer, so he's got some missed cuts mixed in there. But I mean, I was shocked when I looked at ball striking over the last, 4, 5, 6 events, and he is at the top.
There's a couple guys in the field that when I ran my numbers, I was like, wow. And he was one of them. I didn't think this was the best course for him. Now the results tell you that clearly he's played well here. And that puts him in the conversation just because, those ball striking stats are what we want to see. I like Charlie Hoffman in a similar range. I think he's kind of gearing up, had a really slow start to the year. And there's a couple guys that I've been talking about. And he's one of them where it's like, okay, slow start. And now he's kind of rattled off a string here. He was second at Valero, 13th last week. Just a better golfer than the price would indicate. Benny on. No, it's over before it even started in some ways. No,
the putter is just so bad. I mean, he's just one of those guys that I don't know if he's ever going to get it. Where was he? Let me look at my paper here. Yeah, 68th in strokes gained putting last week, lost 3.3
every week. It's not even.
It's literally every week. It's like he's not one of those guys that it's like he just feels. It kind of feels like Keegan, where it's never going to come
like out. Luke List is I think a good example because Luke List is an awful putter, but occasionally he gains like 6 strokes putting. We saw that at the PGA. Benyon never does that.
Nope, never.
It's real sad. We got a friend of the show, Scott. I'm glad he asked because I love talking about Neiman. He asked us about Neiman playing a little better. Obviously, this was in the stretch of his massive run last year. So the course history in a super limited sample size is good. Another bad putter. But can you be convinced to go to him this week, or is he just still not there for you?
I don't think I can get there with him. It's just, the ball striking has been okay, but it hasn't been really as good as we saw around this time last year. And I don't know. I'm just kind of soured on him after that really poor stretch he's played. He's been, like you said, he's been better, but I don't think I can get there this week.
Fair enough. If you're talking tournaments, I always think that you can make a case for Neiman, but he's not even close to someone I'm looking to target. Is there anyone in the low 7s? Because I have one more egregious guy down here.
I'm just gonna keep trying to ride your coattails with Aaron Wise.
Correct.
It's the ball striking has been very good. He seemed to turn the corner at the Masters, where he was 17th, and then after that, he's average gaining about 5.5 strokes with the ball striking 3 events after the Masters, after that T17, which was very good finish for him. The results just haven't quite been there. 41st, 43rd, 18th, but the ball striking is good. Short game, not so good, but I like him here. I think a good driver of the ball can set himself up pretty well here. And it just seems like I feel like we're just waiting for a big event out of him, and we just haven't quite seen it yet. But the stats say it should be coming.
He's, when I said earlier, Charlie Hoffman, Aaron Wise, same bucket. He had a really slow start to the year, found something at the Masters, started to get it together, trending upward, I think underpriced. And this is, I'm not going to say this is a real thing, but to me, I factor it in. So you don't have to. But last year, he was amazing at Wells Fargo. Then he broke through and he won Byron Nelson. Then he missed 2 straight cuts. This was one of them. But the guy had just won his first tournament. We see that sometimes. Sometimes we don't. Guys continue, but Aaron Wise hit a rough stretch after he broke through and won. And I don't think that that's that crazy to imagine when it's your first win. So maybe we see him come out, put forth a better effort this year. Obviously, the last guy I have to mention in the 7s, it's my favorite. You know who it is? It's Peter Uihlein.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Or maybe I think this is setting up for a disastrous Peter Uihlein.
Chernobyl-like disaster might ensue with
because, and I'll tell you why. First of all, a very kind of low-key popular player. I think he's kind of got this cult following.
Yeah. Me and
led by
Baroff.
led by led by us. Yeah. So he was fifth here last year, 25th the year before. His last two starts, he was 13th and fifth. So it's like it seems like everything is just coming together for this amazing thing. Uh, but he gained 6.6 strokes around the green and putting last week at Colonial, and at the Byron Nelson, he gained 6.6 strokes just putting. So he's like done all of his damage the last 2 weeks on and around the green, which just screams disaster to me. So I'm not playing Peter Uihlein.
Peter Uihlein. I'm
Short game special. He turned into Sevi all of a sudden in the last couple of weeks.
that's why he went to Euro to get that skill. I like Peter Uihlein in life. I think you're bringing up really good points. I'm going to counter just with this. Peter Uihlein is a very good putter, so it's not unforeseen that could happen. He needs to get the ball striking in order. And I will reference, you're probably not going to remember, and I can't pinpoint the tournament. Kelly Craft this year had exactly the combination that you're talking about. He had two good finishes at the particular course, and he was coming in off two good tournaments. And you said the same thing. That is a lethal combination in terms of being over-owned. So if Peter Uihlein is even semi-popular, I think the pertinent thing is to not be that aggressive with him. And this is coming from someone that really likes his game.
And I think he will be because people want to play him. And then you look and say, oh, 15th or 5th and 13th in the last 2 weeks and 5th and 25th the last 2 years here. It seems like it all makes sense. But boy, it was all done on the short game the last 2 weeks.
It was. And I just want to circle back because this is a good question from chat. Really quick to Jim Furyk. He is someone that we didn't mention, and he did play pretty well last week. Is the course too long for him? Furyk, I don't think he plays the way he plays. I still worry a little about the upside. He was pretty impressive last week, though, 13th at Charles Schwab.
Yeah, I don't think the course is too long for him. We kind of laid out in the beginning. Stricker's won here. Kuchar has an amazing record here. Lingmerth, McGirt, Duffner. It seems like it should be a longer hitter's course just based on the specs, but we've seen a lot of short hitters do well here. That being said, I don't think I'll be playing him.
To me, he's a fine. I think he's more cash viable, to be honest. He's making cuts. He's giving you those decent finishes. He's truth be told, he's grabbing more placement points than I always am kind of projecting him for. He's been impressive. To me, Keegan takes those shares on most teams when I'm looking for safety. So I get the Furyk move. I think it's definitely a good guy that we should have mentioned, but not sure I'm going to be there. And ownership, that's kind of a mystery right now. I doubt he'll be super low owned because he's playing pretty well. And then we got really no one else. We got Russell Knox and Noren rounding out the 7K range, two of your guilty pleasures.
Yeah, Knox did it all with the putter last week.
So he really did. He was rolling in crazy putts.
Yeah, a little concerning for me. I don't think I'm going there this week. I really would have loved to see the approach game bounce back, but that's kind of slowed down a little bit, and I think it's a bit of a mirage I think he gained 5.5 strokes with the putter. So the finish looked a lot better on paper than it really was.
Yeah, I'm not really there. Killa Keith is there, kind of indifferent. I'm not super sold on him. He's going to gain off the tee, but other than that,
he's going to lose it on the greens on the 16 stimp meter Bermuda or
that could be
bent grass green. Sorry,
his putting has been good for a lot of the stretch, and I do worry about that a little here. Before we kick off the 6K range, I just want to give a quick plug to the site, as I always do. We have a ton of stuff behind the paywall. We got office hours, projections, articles from me. We got Slack chat, all that good stuff. So if you're thinking about signing up, there's still plenty of golf. We got a major in 2 weeks. You can use the promo code JazzRaz. You get half off any month of any package. You can get those details. You got any questions, let us know. But it is a good time, and we're just printing 100K winners. We're not winning, but that's neither here nor there. What about the 6K range? This is always where it gets a little dicey. There's still some guys, not a ton down here.
Yeah, there really isn't a ton down here. And this might be the one thing dissuading me from just jamming Rory all over the place is that there's not a ton of guys I like below 7K. Even though this is an invitational field, theoretically should be getting a high percentage of 6 of 6 through. Um, we'll go down. I think, if the theme is gonna be ball striking, Corey Connors at 6,900 is of interest to me. Second best ball striker on tour behind Rory, which is crazy. But I think if you can get the second best ball striker on tour for 6,900, I like that. Gained 5.6 strokes with the ball striking in the last two events. Seems to be a little bit more consistent than we saw him at the beginning of the year and last year, where we would just have these amazing ball striking performances and then just go on a run of missed cuts and kind of continue that at the beginning of the year. But really, not a lot of high finishes outside of the win, but I'm just following the ball striking, and I think at 6,900 he's a pretty solid fit here. Again, a little bit like Streelman, where you're just gonna have to pray for the short game, pray for the chipping and putting.
So when I'm glad you brought up Streelman again, because you said he kind of surprised you when you're looking at the numbers. There is a guy at 6,700 who really surprised me when I looked at the numbers. I'm interested to see if he caught your eye, and it's Nick Watney. Just low key, last 3 weeks, he missed the cut at Byron Nelson, but Wells Fargo ball striking was really good. Last week, it was ridiculous, like winning good. He just lost 4 strokes putting, going to a course where, he's played it. He's not the most talented golfer on tour, so you're not going to see a rash of results that are crazy good. I think his game translates just fine here. Did you notice? I was actually impressed that he's striking it that well.
Yeah, amazing last week. Led the field in tee to green. Was really good. Like you said, was pretty good at Wells Fargo 3 starts ago. I like him. I think at 6,700, I'm definitely going to play him just based on how he played last week. You're not as high on him as some other guys, where I'd like to see maybe like where it's like 3 or 4 really good ball striking performances in a row. Him, it seems like we've had like one really good one last week, and we kind of don't know where he's going to go from there. But yeah, the price is right, and I think coming off what he did, like you said, a winning ball striking effort last week. Yeah, I think at 6,700, where there's not a ton of plays down here, I'm definitely going to have some.
It's just the one reserve. I mean, obviously he's not a super talented guy, which is whatever. He's a fine player. It's just, it flipped drastically. Like, he had been bleeding strokes off the tee for a while, like a month or two. And then last 3 tournaments has just been great. So that maybe he found something, I guess. That's always a little weird, though. It wasn't like a gradual progression. It just all of a sudden light switch style. Man, we've talked about this. At least we haven't fallen in this trap. Sungjae Im is just struggling right now. I would love to play him. It's just very hard to jump on. The form is really bad.
Yeah, I don't think I can get there. The price is plummeting, but the results just haven't been there. The stats haven't been there. There's just nothing. He needs to take some time off, I think.
Yeah, maybe he's hurt or something. Who knows? It's not really working. Brandon Grace caught my eye. It's just talk about results not being there. Just not there either. Your boy Sam Burns lurking around. These are the type of flyers I think you can look to, but all in all, I don't really want to make room for these type of players on my teams.
No, honestly, after Connors, after Watney, Max Homa has been striking the ball pretty well, but I don't love him. There's not much that I like down here. I don't know. I don't think this is a spot for Cameron Champ, but the ball striking's kind of come back with him really predominantly off the tee. I don't love him here, but I don't know. He's a guy I'm going to keep my eye on going forward. He's gained, I think he's gained around 5 strokes with the ball striking the last 2 events. Like I said, almost all of it off the tee, but in a weaker field where we're really going on a driver heavy course, I would like him, but I just don't think this is the spot for him.
Yeah, I think that kind of sums up my feelings on Champ as well. We got the Panda down there.
Oh God,
I don't think that's the way to go. Do you have any bets?
Not yet, but I mean, Stenson is probably going to be it. I'm just so in love with this approach game that, at 50 to 1, where he's gaining what is it, 1.5 strokes on approach. It's just I can't seem to get away from that. So yeah, he's the guy that I've got my eye on. 1.29 strokes gained approach on the year. Yeah, I keep following that. I'm just in love with it for whatever reason. But yeah, I haven't bet anything yet, but he's probably the main guy I have my eye on. How about you?
I haven't bet anything yet. I might get sucked into like decky types. I think that next tier besides the big dogs is where I'll really want to target. But all in all, it's only Tuesday, so we'll see kind of where we're at. I mean, it's a good tournament. It's an invitational, but I want to see some things unfold. Tee times, weather, these things will make small differences as they always do.
Yeah, I feel like this event gets rain every single year. I could be totally making that up, but I feel like this is one that either gets rain right before or during. I just like it's a terrible event for the weather. And like you said, I think they got quite a bit of rain. Was it last night? So it should be playing pretty soft.
Yeah, no, it looks like it. And that's something me and Jason Rosin will be talking about tomorrow, obviously. But, all in all, 120 guys, we breezed right through that. Easy can be. But any final thoughts before we kind of duck on out of here, short and sweet this week?
No, I mean, I just really love Rory. I'm just trying to figure out, if how much of him I want to play. Like I said, I just don't love a lot of guys below 7K, which kind of makes it tough. But man, that ball striking for Rory is just on such another level that 11.5 just he seems like he should be more expensive than Woods and some of these secondary options to me.
He has been just what a year from him. It's super impressive. And yeah, I think my last thoughts would be on a macro level. I don't want to say just don't overhaul everything you do based on last week. It was a ridiculous carnage driven cut. It's an outlier. What can you say? You want to factor it in, but don't overhaul your process based on seeing, a lot of those big name guys go down. That happens sometimes. So, I think we see it return to normalcy this week, which I'm looking forward to. And then we got a major in 2 weeks. But yeah, I think that really sums it up. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can find me and Tim on Twitter. You can get us in Slack. We're always around. And we'll see what we can find. So I'm going to look at these tee times, see what weather holds, see what ownership does. We'll be back tomorrow night answering all your questions. As always, good luck, and hopefully someone can take down 100K and make it 2 straight. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.